on the topic of blockchain between Raphael Magen and Michael Josko Kaldesh. So our topic today formally is the impact of blockchain and DLT on emerging healthcare ecosystems. So this is going to be a topic new for all of us as it is an emerging thing, and I think we can learn a lot from our panelist here. Raphael is co-founder and chief strategist of Erdos Associates, a consulting firm for startups with a social impact. He owns a wellness and fitness company, NorthFit, which is structured on mindfulness-based meditation, mindfulness-based CBT, meditation, pain management, and performance training. He is also a member of the Minnesota Blockchain Initiative. Michael Josko is Michael Josko is medical director at Ametis and has been working in this field of pharma for over 12 years. And so CEO and co-founder of Ametis. So we'll give the stage to them and we'll get started. A quick 30 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Hi, Raphael. Nice to see you all, folks, in 3D. Very funny. Cool. I like it. So, Raphael, you want to start or shall I say something?
You know what? Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, so impact of blockchain and DLT on emerging healthcare ecosystems. So maybe we should start with a question: what is the most important in health? What do you guys think? What is most important in health and healthcare data? So I think it is trust, right? Trust is, I think, the most important thing. More important than basically anything else. I mean, we can speak about this new kind of technology. I mean, blockchain is a fancy technology, right? Non-fungible tokens, Metaverse, all these things are very cool technologies and everyone likes it. Some people still don't know what it is, but I guess everyone here knows what we're talking about. But of course, trust is the most important factor, because what is the issue with digital health? A lot of people mistrust digital health platforms due to some scandals in the past, with some problems with data security, and people think, okay, my healthcare data is very sensitive, and I don't know if I can store it on an internet page. You know, we do have also a digital health platform, and that is the most common question that we get: how safe is the data? Can anyone access the data without my know-how, etc., etc.? We say, no, of course not, and we have all the typical healthcare security measures in place: SSL certificates, AES encrypted databases. We follow GDPR and HIPAA compliant guidelines, all these things. But people say, yeah, cool, but still don't trust you. How can I follow up what's going to happen to my data, who has access to my data, etc., etc.? And there, blockchain comes into play. I don't think I have to explain anything about blockchain. As a matter of fact, the blockchain, at least when it's a really decentralized one, it's almost impossible to manipulate or to betray the system, right? Because you have this distributed ledger with different nodes, where each node guarantees you the authenticity and safety of your data, basically. So that is why we started implementing a blockchain in the first place, because we said, okay, how can we give trust back to people? What do people want? They want to see who does have access to my data, who is manipulating or updating my data, with which right does he do it, and why does he do it? And so we created the blockchain in a way, or we implemented the blockchain in a way that it does not store the medical data, because, you know, as a matter of fact, medical data is very, very large. Speaking about CAT scan files, speaking about MRI files, hundreds of megabytes, actually gigabytes. And when you store 1 million patients' records with the petabytes of data, you will get an issue with the nodes. So what did we do? We started implementing transaction IDs. So I'll give you a brief example. So imagine your family practitioner stores a discharge letter from a hospital and an X-ray to your system and makes an entry in your allergies. Then the blockchain records this transaction. It does not record data itself, so it does not like store the medical data inside the system, but it stores the transaction hash and the information. Dr. ABC stored at this and this time and this date, this and this type of information in your medical records, right? So you have a hash that is a few kilobytes big, not too much of a data, still offering you the possibility to delete your medical record because the information that is stored on the chain is only accessible by the patient itself, and it's not storing clear names. So guys, right, blockchain has an issue. It's immutable, and that is an issue, for example, in Europe, where I come from. The GDPR rights, the so-called security laws say you must have the right to be forgotten. And that, of course, is an issue with blockchain, right? Because blockchain does not forget, and you cannot delete things from a blockchain just like that. So it's another issue why you don't store all data, especially not clear names on the blockchain, especially not on a public blockchain where everyone could have access to it. So we went this way to use the blockchain as a tool. So that is basically what we do and how we see the use case of a blockchain in healthcare. It's a trust spending tool and a tool for the user to be safe with what she or he does in the system, what is happening to the medical data. And we can speak later about things like data and NFTs and Metaverse. I want to give the word to Raphael. Maybe Raphael, you want to add, and I think that's the most important thing I have to say about the blockchain, how we use it. Thank you so much.
No, I agree with everything you say. The conversation that we're having today is very different than we were having, say, even 5 years ago. I think everyone is understanding that 9 out of 10 people in the global north have access to some sort of digital platform with which they can integrate with the healthcare provider, right? If you're lucky enough to have, whether it's state-sponsored or independent insurance, there is somebody who is helping you to create, and I look at it as there's two ways that we're generating healthcare data as an individual, right? And it all comes down to the sovereignty. Who owns the data? And in my opinion, it's the creator, right? There's the lived way of creating data in which we are healthcare is persistent. Right? I'm not the same person that I was yesterday. My daughter had pink eye last week, right? She's 3 years old. And so, going to daycare, she brings home whatever kids have shared amongst the toys there. And so my health changes from day to day. And that information is valuable to an epidemiologist if somebody is studying, the COVID vaccine or the COVID infection, for example. That information is specific to a specific group of people. I think one of the things that blockchain is going to allow, right, when we look at distributed ledger technology, a ledger is, important only if we know who is the owner, right? The debit and the credit is important because who is the one transacting. And when we have massive amounts of data that we're creating, if we can't keep that at the edge, right? An iPhone 6 can do, 100 million trips to the moon and back of an Apollo rocket in terms of compute power. If we can't be able to store our sovereign data at the edge, we're going to put too much on chain. And not only with GDPR, but with as well here in the United States, there's going to be too many places where the data is stored, right? And data has really 3 states. There's in transition, right? When it's in transit, we need to be able to protect there. There's when data is at rest, we need to be able to protect in the database, whoever's database it's on at this moment in time. And then we also need to be able to protect the data on the devices, right? Because there's the learned way of building our health. We can change our diet, we can go work out, we can add mindfulness and meditation, we can change our sleep patterns. But there's also the learned data, right? And that's coming from the devices that we're wearing. I'm wearing a Fitbit right now. I mean, every one of our phones has a way to verify how much movement we do. Your toothbrush, if it's connected to the internet now, can verify how many times you've brushed your teeth. That can have a 20% impact on your heart health. We see the possibility of when you add in AI and machine learning into this, that data is going to be valuable because data is not valuable as a single set, but valuable as a point. And with everyone in this room, to combine our data, that would be valuable to somebody. There's a reason there's a data broker market, right? What we can do in the future with blockchain is from the first basis level is you look at a country like Estonia that has a basically a digital version of your social security number in the US. And if anybody accesses your information and you see that, right, that is something that I can see because they accessed my hash of my information. If that person was not supposed to have access to it and they don't have a good reason, they go to jail, full stop. This is the kind of top-down approach that we need because it's much easier to roll a stone downhill than it is up. So we need to have these sense-making conversations about where, how, and who in the HIPAA, and then I can't remember in the GDPR, but it talks about how that data is handled. Google will go online and they say all the time, we don't sell your data. And Facebook will sell, we don't sell your data. Well, third-party partnerships and allowing access, licensed access to our data that we don't understand what happens to it once it goes into the box. Blockchain is going to make a lot of the traceability, not even adding in things like NFTs, but just in terms of being able to know who access and what moves where is going to be incredibly valuable in the future because it allows us to participate and give our own choice into what we want to be done, whether we want to contribute to the global good as a part of a global study, or if we want to keep all of our things to ourselves because we think that maybe large data is being used by insurance companies to make a difference in terms of what we purchase, where, and how. I think blockchain is going to bring at least the clarity that we're hoping for when we create these petabytes of data in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good. So what I also want to add to blockchain in general is, we speak a lot about technology when we speak about next generation healthcare and Web3, and it's not only in healthcare, but it's basically in every industry that we are speaking about. It should be a little bit more the background in the long run, right? Because when you come to people and you tell them, okay, we have a blockchain, you must have a wallet, you have to save your private keys, you have to take care of this and that, 99% of the people say, okay, guys, I'm out, okay? I don't want to take care of that. I'm afraid of losing my keys. I'm afraid of making an error, of doing something wrong. I don't want to be in touch with these kind of problems, right? So what is important about this new technology? It should step back into the background, basically, because what you do when you drive a car, you don't think about the engine, you don't think about the air condition, you just use it. When you swipe your Amex credit card, when you buy something at Walmart, you're not thinking about, oh, how is the encryption to the bank done? How is this and this encrypted? How does the PIN check? You don't care. You just swipe the card and you use it. And that's how blockchain technology and distributed ledger technology, NFTs, all these things must work in the end, because everyone, including me, including you, Raphael, we don't want to think about it. We just want to use it. We want to have the advantages this technology brings us, right? Also, when you fly a plane, you not think about, oh, the flaps work when we land. How does the gear retract? No one cares, right? That's the same thing with technology like blockchain. What's also very important is not only the information security for myself or the traceability, etc. It's also about trust for people who I work with. So we speak about fraud prevention and about identification of people. Imagine, I tell you guys, I'm a medical doctor. I've been working in internal medicine for a long time. So you can now come up to the stage and ask me some medical questions. But how do you know I am a doctor? I could say I'm a doctor. Maybe I'm just, I don't know, I'm something else. I'm an engineer or I'm an astronaut. Who knows? You cannot tell that from who I am on stage here. So what can blockchain technology do? Speaking about NFTs as an information, for example, we use our Metaverse NFTs as a way of identifying doctors. So when you have a teleconsult, you meet a doctor in the virtual space, this doctor has their license and the identification and their specialization paperwork with them. So people can ask every time, are you a real doctor? What are your abilities? How credible are you? And what is your reputation? We want to work together with governments and we want to work together with regulators to make things identifiable. I can tell you in Germany, I'm originally from Germany, we have very frequently these articles in the magazines that say, oh, this hospital found out one of their doctors was never a doctor. They never studied medicine. And you ask yourself, how can that happen? What is going on there? And the problem is, there is no real chain of identification. There is no tool to really identify people and to make sure this is legit, or the person is legit, right? So this is where this technology can really make a difference and really save people's lives.
I think you make a good point. One of the things that was an existential risk, say 50 years ago, when we first established that we could read, write, and store data, right, was the fact that it would be digitally easy to replicate anything using machines that ideate at light speed, right? So the possibility that a song could be produced and distributed with zero effort. You don't have to put it onto a record anymore, but we can replicate it over and over and over and over again. It made the cost of trust much more expensive. And so we allowed that trust to be centralized in data warehouses by the did that because there was a necessity early to spend the money on the hardware that was required to maintain and support the infrastructure. Now that we have the ability with blockchain to put in some sort of a trust immunized, I'll call it a notary stamp of how we can verify the reality of something, or the verification, right? On-chain credentialing is kind of what you're alluding to there. There was a speaker here earlier, Brennan Spiegel. I can't remember his last name. I apologize if I messed it up, but he showed a very heartfelt video of some patients viewing at Cedar Sinai VR and being really touched by this. All of us are standing within arm's length in the digital sense, right? If we are going to allow people into our digital bubble, we're going to need to know a way in which that we are interacting with each other on a one-to-one basis and verify who that is, because our lizard brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is fake, right? That's why we have the conversation about the bubble, right? I was asked earlier, I try to turn off my bubble because I don't mind personal space. I'm a hugger. I don't know if we can hug in the metaverse, but I'm a hugger. So I turned off my bubble just in case somebody wanted to. But I realized that some people who have previous trauma can be triggered by something like that. And because of the fact that this is within inches of our eyes and there's no disconnect between the data feeding into our brain is processing this as reality. And so when we're offering that kind of access to us individually, I want to at least know that who's on the other side. So blockchain for me really shows me how I can control what I'm doing and have access to those who I'm sharing things with. I see it. If that's a hand, I don't know if we can take questions or not, but what realistically, the changes here is that we are now able to be creators in our own future and create valuable data. And how are we going to be able to participate in the large, intelligent learning systems that are going to be able to help solve really common problems like diabetes, or some of the ways in which geographically located, there's Cancer Alley in the United States down in Louisiana, right? We can track some of these global health problems in the same way as they did for cholera, right? Was it Dr. Smith, I believe, is the one who put pins in the map to track the cholera epidemics and realized it was from water. We can do that and use machines who can do and read 8,000 reports in a minute. Right? Whereas doctors in the past had to store all this information. I normally hold up my phone, but we're going from a knowledge-based economy to how do you assimilate the knowledge and build it together into something novel? I think blockchain allows us to be able to do that in a way where we don't have to trust the system, right? Web 2 interfaces with Web 3 rails, so that happens in the background. Blockchain, to me, gives me a sense of security, albeit maybe it's at this point it's unguided security, because there are things that we haven't had the conversation about. Steve Mann, the guy who invented the wearables, he's famous innovator tech. He talks about valence. Right? We need to talk about who has access to, right? There's surveillance and surveillance from the top to the bottom, right? You've got cops who are wearing body cameras and people with cameras. In the metaverse now, you're going to have people viewing each other, interacting and doing these things. How do we know who's doing what is really what I think this system will help to ensure in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Shall we take some questions from the audience and maybe integrate the audience into the conversation? It would be beautiful.
Ja, das ist sehr gut. Meine Tante ist auf Deutschland, auf Baden-Württemberg.
Sehr gut.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? Ooh.
Emily, you're up for the question.
Hi, thank you for an interesting conversation. I work with digital voice. I'm creating interactive avatars with a brain so that they can help long-term cancer patients. Voice prints of a particular person's voice, changes in the voice, and all of this. And I had proposed to some of my team members that we use an NFT or some sort of digital marker for that so that it can't be hacked or it can't be reused. And they just threw their arms up in the air. So I'm looking for guidance on how we might.
Doctor?
Just taking blood samples now. There's so much more data. It does have to be identified. You know, I'm old school. I used to use frozen cells with social security numbers. So I also have the problem of legacy identification. So I'm open to suggestions. You know, we'll ride this wave together, right?
Yeah. So it's a very good question. Thank you for that. So yeah, I think, you know, blockchain technology, especially the non-fungible tokens, the NFTs, are a very good use case for that. We would love to support you in that, and we can guide you to do that. That's just a few clicks, basically, because, you know, we also have a NFT marketplace, a platform to handle non-fungible tokens in healthcare. We're also elaborating that with university hospitals and big pharma companies. And that particularly what you say is a very good use case, because the non-fungible token is not only information on the blockchain that cannot be manipulated, but it's a unique piece of information on the blockchain that cannot be manipulated, and it's one of a kind. So you can always trace it. You have intellectual property security with that, because this one piece of information is always identifiable on the blockchain. You will always recognize it as the piece of information that you stored, and you can follow up where it came from and where it is going to. So you exactly know who had access to it up to a certain point, of course. And you can even combine it with smart contracts that give you the possibility to combine the NFT with certain functionalities and certain things. Basically something like, if this, then that. So if the non-fungible token is going to another care provider or insurance company, then this and this happens. This can be a payment. This can be a legal document that is executed. So it is really beautiful. So you have three possibilities with the NFTs for your use case. Proof of authenticity, first of all. Second, intellectual property. And third, combining it with smart contracts to execute things that you like to execute when this NFT is in use or sent.
I think one of the other things that's interesting and to kind of parlay off of that is, in the past, we were free to create data as much as we wanted, right? Everybody was willing to let us opt in to let them build these massive amounts, 3,000 data points on each one of us individually. And we were free to create that all we wanted. And I think what has happened we'll call it post-Bitcoin white paper, right? And more advanced adoption of DLT and blockchain technologies is we're now free to own. And once the ownership comes in, ownership basically turns something into an asset, right? Hernando de Soto talks about the fact that a majority of the world that works in the extra legal market cannot provide limited liability to themselves or incorporate or provide bank financing, microloans, because they don't have a way to show that they own something, the sovereignty, the provenance. Blockchain allows us to be able to track and trace provenance so incredibly quickly and efficiently that we're able to sort down what we need, where and when, and it allows us to monetize any asset that we choose. And with that option, right, you look at the gig economy, people can monetize their labor or their house or their a guest bedroom or their vehicle. Right? There are people driving vehicles and loaning their vehicles. In blockchain, we're going to be allowing people to access our asset, that is our healthcare data, because that is valuable to somebody. Right? Eli Lilly, if they have good, clean signal from the edge and they can verify through blockchain that it is the exact demographic of the study participants that they would like, we can now build things that people can do using not having to access a Cedars-Sinai facility, maybe in Des Moines, Iowa, or Lesotho. They can go to a clinic that has the right things to monitor the things that they need, provide that data, and push it into the cloud. And as that study pays later, you can now remunerate the people who participated and provided their asset that you built that value on. When we're free to have the option of how to use it, it allows us to go further towards the conversation of what is work. When maybe not able to have a Charles Hopkins calls it the sovereign wealth fund, and Andrew Yang the universal basic income. When we can get universal basic dignity, because by just simply doing and living and taking our devices with us, we can monetize that data through our digital AI that is out there brokering it for us independently. Right? When you have something like that that allows you to be able to monetize something that you already own currently but can't monetize, we can get people a way to meet their minimum basic needs. They can get back those 10 IQ points of their Maslow's hierarchy of needs because they're making $25 a month in their data rights that they're selling to their traffic data. Half the world, wants to go to 2 wheels from 2 feet. If we have a massive amount of bikes because people now have a couple extra bucks and they can increase their efficiency by coming into a bike, we have a different traffic problem than we do a congestion problem with CO2 emissions. How do we then take them and incentivize that behavior and saying, hey, if we need bike lanes, we've got a massive amount of traffic here, we can do a study and empower all the people that ride bikes for 2 weeks. And we can buy every one of their coffees on their route for 2 weeks because they participated in a city that allows us to decrease traffic in Barcelona. That, to me, is where the conversation here about what blockchain does in healthcare, it's most important in the sense that we can own how everyone else interacts with us, not just ourselves. Do we have any other questions?
Omar?
Hello. Yep. I just had one question about sort of designing the ideal medical blockchain. Obviously, for it to be decentralized and to have lots of a distributed ledger, how would you guarantee the ledger? A proof of work system would obviously wouldn't be sustainable in the long run. So is there any ideas from your projects on how you can maintain sort of cryptographic authenticity without using a lot of computation power, and who pays for this computation power?
Yeah. So first of all, we are not using proof of work, because first of all, as you say, it's not sustainable, doesn't make sense. So we use a proof of stake and proof of authority mechanism. And what's also very important is, in our opinion, that the blockchain that you use shall not produce any costs for the user. I mean, take a look at the Ethereum blockchain. I mean, it's a beautiful blockchain. It is powerful. It is scalable, but it produces high gas costs. Okay, you pay a lot of these fees, and you cannot put this burden onto the patient or the healthcare system, and you cannot put the burden on the company that's providing that. So what we do, at least for this part where we are using the blockchain for transparency, we're using a private blockchain. It's not producing any fees, right? That is first of all, and decentralize it by implementing independent parties into that. It can be, of course, health authorities. It can be a hospital. That can be a researcher. So there is no one who has alone control over the blockchain, right? I mean, of course, to be decentralized, you need multiple parties optimally across the globe, right? So you don't have a single owner of that. But as said, it shouldn't produce any energy consumption. So this ESG compliance is very important for us. So it should be something that is private, of course, and does not produce costs, and that does not pollute and that does not produce carbon dioxide and lessens our footprint, because then you maybe solve one problem and generate a new one.
Yeah, I think that's really what it comes down to. That the proof of work, proof of stake argument is interesting to me, because I really see that in the same way as having to generate your own content was a conversation we had about 3 weeks ago before ChatGPT came out. We don't have to have that conversation as much anymore, because you don't have to be a phenomenal writer now to generate content. think as compute power continues to grow and as blockchain technology works more toward interoperability, what's going to happen is that trust that we're going to need is going to be, whether it's zero knowledge proof or some other novel approach, the compute power is going to happen at the edge, right? The sovereignty is going to happen at the edge. What I create on my device, the fact that it uses my face to verify who I am and it uses my location and the transactions that I do, if that data is held on my phone, it doesn't have to happen. If it's not in the transaction, like you said, if it doesn't have to be on chain. That gives us a couple of pluses. I think as we bring some of the 2G global south on, there's going to be questions about where the data will lie, because they're going to be generating more data than maybe they can hold, because not everybody has a brand new iPhone, right? Not everybody has a brand new Google Pixel. And when we can do that, and we can use, somebody referred to it as like basically proof of life or proof of humanity. So the person operating the device is not a bot, but is actually a person because it's done stuff and it's moved. We can then take some of that verification. I can see you standing there, and even in a digital presence, when you spoke, I know that you're real. So if I add you as a friend and we interact again, I have at least that sentient connection that you and I have shared. But machines are able to do that so much better than we can, and they can use multiple data points. In China now, there's I'm not going to use the negator of the pejorative term of the social credit, but there's a way in which that when they're doing such things as loans and the way people work, they're actually basing it off of, one of them is how often your phone goes into the red. Right? Are you someone who is a future planner because you keep your phone charged all the time, or are you someone who runs it kind of close to the margins? You're always in the red and running from charging to charging. I think that's an interesting comment on the personality. When the phones can verify who we are, we don't have to leave that to the blockchains to do that. In 1901, in the United States, when Henry Ford dominated the market, there was 1,001 automobile companies incorporated in the U.S. Right? You're in a blockchain where there was 30,000 tokens mid last year, we'll say. Now there's 20,000. Right? Which means the batch sort is happening to the non-vaporware, non-Ponzi schemes, real good use cases, actual utility, non-synthetic security derivatives that are out there. And as they continue to sort down, the communities and the size of those communities will make it necessary for additional layers and APIs, bridge that gap between and middleware, so that we can take people who are not, who doesn't require a desktop to do blockchain, right? Because it requires a desktop now, you lose the bottom 7 billion. Until we can do everything on our phone and make sure that all of that data required is handled by the phones and by the individual, we're still going to run into problems, in my opinion. But I think the problem is one that's going to be solved not necessarily by Moore's law, by the fact that the innovation in the space is valuable as an investment. Anybody else has a question? I don't know where we are on time because I can't see my watch through my Oculus.
So,
Yes.
hey guys, this is Kavya, and I have a lot of questions which I'm going to certainly continue discussing with both of you offline, as certainly AI Metis partners with Medical XRSI Advisory Council. So I just wanted to make a comment, Michael, as well as Raphael. Michael, first of all, I'm truly grateful to you for supporting and sponsoring today's track. And bringing AI Metis Avalon into the conversation. A lot of the people actually don't know the kind of revolutionary innovation that you are doing. And I have firsthand seen the impact and the conversations that are going on behind the scenes. I just wanted to highlight that. Thank you. Because of you, we can keep this track free, this week free. So thank you for supporting that free education and awareness. And Raphael, it was such an honor to join you at the United Nations General Assembly last time. And I'm so glad that you just last moment jumped in to share your valuable inputs and insight. What we really need now is to take these conversations to much more of a global stage, to legislators, and share with them the impact of these technologies, because it's so much more positive that we need mechanism to mitigate the risks, and then we are good, because this is how we are going to tackle the really remarkable challenges like climate change, as well as mental health crisis. It's massive, we have to look to the metaverse. So just wanted to thank you, Michael. My last question, as you wrap up, could you please paint the picture of, what kind of, like, what is the metaverse healthcare? Because not a lot of people understand how the metaverse is going to revolutionize and change healthcare. When you talk about AI medicine, you're like literally doing that. So outside of just the blockchain, how is it changing the healthcare landscape?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much, Kavya, for the invitation, and thank you, Raphael, for the honor to speak with you here on stage. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to what we are saying, what we're doing. Yeah, so the thing is, the metaverse. So as said, blockchain technology, we see it as a tool for creating transparency and trust inside the system that we do, and that includes, of course, our metaverse. That also includes our digital health platform, which is basically the backbone of the metaverse. Because I can tell a little bit about the Metaverse Avalon that we do. So you see this beautiful environment here, right? We're so in this virtual Taj Mahal, and we're speaking here, and that is basically what we also offer in Avalon. We are using Unreal Engine, so we have very sophisticated graphics, and we generate virtual environments that includes hospitals, that includes universities, that includes pharma companies, pharmacies, AI companies. So basically, every stakeholder in the healthcare space as their representation inside Avalon. And we, as the people, we can go there and we can use their services. We can go to virtual anti-abuse groups. We can see a doctor. We can have a consultation face-to-face. We can learn. We study. So Professor Shafi, for example, he will give the first lectures in Avalon. So medical students, nurses, but also patients, people with chronic diseases can learn about conditions, and they know that they're speaking to real professionals, right? I'm not speaking about me, but I speak about Shafi, who is really a great doctor and with a long history and reputation. And we have a lot of great guys in Avalon, professors with a long history in healthcare that will do those lectures. We encourage research course. So we are working with pharma companies that have just started to explore this space with us. And what we also offer is we offer a space for every party that wants to strengthen healthcare. We speak about startups. So we offer spaces for startups that can represent themselves, first of all, to the audience and to their customers, to the patients, but of course also to investors. So we generate spaces to bring people together and to create this force, this cooperation. When we speak about Web3, this is what it's all about, right? It's of course about economy, it's about data economy, but it's about real cooperation and breaking up silos. And I think this technology is fantastic to do it because, honestly, this is one of my first actions in the metaverse here. So speaking to a larger audience, and it's beautiful because I really have the feeling as I'm with you guys in a room and I speak to you, I experience this with you. It's beautiful. It's much better and much more immersive than Zoom could ever be. And yeah, I'm really grateful that we can do it. And the thing is that I'm a game fanatic. I was a professional computer gamer when I was still studying medicine. I was at school, and I could fulfill a dream of building my own computer game, but with a real healthcare background. So yeah, that's basically what we do, and we are very happy and proud to be able to present it and to invite every one of you to be part of this journey. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the last thing I'll just say is that the world needs, whether you want to call it the empathy revolution or you believe David Bloom and compassion is a better way to do it. We can now put ourselves almost figuratively and literally into the shoes of someone else. We can come out of our bodies and see that we exist. We can take some of the things where we can shift our perspective. And I think the one thing that we need more than anything in this country is there are so many collective illusions, right? Dr. Todd Rose and Populous, they do A/B testing and they realize that people think that everybody thinks that it's all going to be bad. And I think that realistically, if we can find some more compassion for one another and we can smile a little bit and be kind and hope for the health of everyone around us, we can become co-participants in a future that can look far more utopian than dystopian, because depending on the day and depending on the time, to me, it's, I would say everything's 50-50, either it will or it won't. So I'm going to bet on the fact that people have been doing this for a long time and we're all still here, which means we've gone undefeated. I think we can accomplish and crush this as well.
Thank you so much, Michael and Raphael. We're going to take, let's give a round of applause for our speakers on this topic of blockchain and trust and verification. There's quite a lot of themes that run through here. Now we'll take a 30-minute break and hopefully everyone gets some fresh air and sunlight before they come back in for the second half of the program. Thank you so much.